Not again. Gary! Angie!
What's up?
The usual. Telesales have processed all the orders at once.
Oh, no.
And they expect them done by 5?
If our worn-out service pledge is to be believed.
Well, they've got another bloody thing coming. I'm going home on time tonight, whether you like it or not.
Calm down, Angie.
You don't have to put the orders together.
Yeah, well, arguing ain't gonna help.
It might do, especially if it gets you to speak to that.
If you're talking about Helen, use her name.
Whose side are you on? Why don't you stick up for us for a change?
This is right, Brian. We deserve a better deal. And if you're not going to speak up for us, then maybe we'd better do it for ourselves.
Let's just get on with it. I'll talk to Helen later.
Fiver says he doesn't.
Brian's reputation as an avoider of conflict precedes him, but its uses are wearing thin. He's finding out that avoidance doesn't work long term, but he's yet to find a better strategy with Helen.
And if I was to order that now? Same-day delivery. That's a new service, isn't it?
And from now on, any orders received after 3 p.m. will be dealt with the following day, and that is my final word. That's a bit strong. 3:30 at the absolute latest.
Here we are.
Thanks. Oh, by the way, thanks for getting the accounts together.
No problem. Do you want me to...
It wouldn't be so bad if all the orders were correct.
What is that?
Oh, dear. I think I can guess.
15! That's 15 late orders, 15 dissatisfied customers, 15 companies that'll think twice about using us again. And do you know why? Because your lot never got their bloody act together. Ever heard the expression cruel to be kind, Brian?
I think I know who invented it.
I just believe in meeting deadlines, and if you promise to deliver, you deliver.
Since it was you that promised to deliver, then why don't you? I'd like to see you pack and ship 60 boxes in half an hour.
Listen, Brian, we could have sorted this out long ago, and you know it.
Alex is ready to plunge in, but without the necessary skills, he could end up losing a member of staff. So what should he do? Well, before he can do anything, he's going to have to assess the situation. First off, is he really the right person to step in?
If a situation looks like it needs diffusing, the first thing we've got to do is to get as calm as we can ourselves, to think about, are we the right person to be going in and trying to calm this down? Can we do that without maybe going in and blaming one party or both of them? Then look at what they're doing, look at how comfortable they look, check out whether you think there might be a possibility of violence. If that's the case, you think you need support, think about, where am I going to get this support?
Alex needs to assess the effect the situation might have on him, physically, mentally. He needs to keep breathing, stay relaxed, keep his center. It's a split-second process. A confident, open posture and a calm, even tone of voice is going to help. He also needs to assess the other parties. What does Alex know about them, about their relationship and about the history of this conflict that can help him resolve it? And lastly, what's the wider view here? What are the consequences going to be for other staff and for the company as a whole?
If that's good management, you can stuff it. I'd rather be a bad manager than have everyone under my thumb.
I'm not sure I'm up to this.
Alex probably shouldn't try to resolve the situation, not all in one go anyway. In fact, he's got to get their attention away from the current issue and focus on the future. And he can do it in 3 steps: interrupt, deflect, and redirect. You need to interrupt firmly but without aggression, deflect attention from the current situation, and redirect energy towards the consequences of their actions and possible solutions.
It's not going to get any easier, Brian. Some Some companies have started same-day deliveries. What are you going to do? Shorten your afternoon nap?
All right, what is all this going to achieve?
Good question, because it gets Helen and Brian to disengage and consider.
He keeps leaving me in the lurch.
She dumps all the work on us.
Hang on.
Now, wait a minute. This is doing nobody any good. It's affecting your work, and it's affecting the company. Now, we need to sort this out. Now, why don't you sit down and see if we can find a solution? Right. Now, about this problem. What do you want to do about it?
That's possibly the very worst thing to say at this point. The question's much too open. We could be back to square one.
I want Brian to deliver on time.
Yeah, and I'd like her to...
Now, hang on, Brian. Maybe Helen has a point there.
Just a minute, whose side are you on? You haven't even heard my side of things yet.
No, you're right, Brian, I haven't. And in time, I will hear both sides. But right now, you two can't get on, and this needs to be sorted out. So either you two can agree to meet and sort this out between you...
Oh, that's not going to work.
At last, we agree on something.
Or I can meet with you, hear both sides, and either help you find a solution for yourselves or decide one for you. How does that sound?
Better. You see, she doesn't even want to try.
I was just thinking of the best way, that's all.
Now, what about time? I'd like to suggest tomorrow.
Brian and Helen's conflict is far from over, but it's been safely put on hold until the issues can be addressed in a mediation setting. Let's review how the defusing was done. First, assess the situation to establish who's the right person to take it on. Be aware of the physical and emotional effects conflict has on you, and use breathing, relaxation, and open body language to keep you centered. This will also help you to remain impartial, claim the safe, neutral ground. Then it's interrupt and deflect the conflict away from the present moment. Redirect the party's energy to the future, to the possible negative consequences, and to the time when they're going to have to improve things.
Yeah? Yeah. No, I'll be up in a few minutes.
Mediation involves a lot of different skills. Skills we all have to some degree. Listening and communication
Helen?
skills.
Brian.
It also needs sensitivity and understanding too. What we all think we've got, or hope we've got, but which only gets tested in the heat of conflict.
I hope you agree that...
Alex has set it up. The time, next day. The place, his neutral office. Let's see what he makes of it.
Right, ground rules.
Well, when people get together in a face-to-face mediation, they may be very uncertain about what's going to happen, who's going to have control, are they going to get blamed for anything. So what you need to do to start with is lay down some ground rules. Those ground rules ensure that the rules are applied consistently to everybody. They've agreed them. It depersonalises the whole idea of control. We're not saying, you did this, you're wrong. We're saying, we agreed to work on this together in this way. Let's keep to those rules.
No interruptions.
Translating positively, that's take the chance to listen to each other and ask questions when the other person's finished speaking.
No sounding off outside the room.
Maintain complete confidentiality.
Don't get up.
Please remain seated.
No verbal or other abuse.
Use language respectfully. In other words, try to avoid blame or exaggeration.
Okay. So, you've both agreed to take 20 minutes to work out what the problem is. That's a positive start. I will need your agreement on one thing.
What's that?
To stop each of you from talking, if that's necessary.
You don't usually ask.
Well, I'm asking now. Is that okay?
I guess so.
Is there anything we can do?
I hope you can both agree a way forward. You've got a chance to sort things out between you here. It'll be a lot better for you both if you can. Because if you really can't make any progress...
Yes?
Then I, or perhaps somebody else, will have to impose a settlement on you both, which could be significantly worse.
I thought this was an imposed settlement.
Quite the reverse. The problem and the solution are both completely in your hands.
It's the mediator's job, really, to be as positive as possible about the possibilities of a solution, to try and communicate that to the parties. To be realistic as well, not to take sides, to try and encourage people to think about what they want, be honest in their assessments. By doing that, the disputants get a real chance to sort things out for themselves without someone else coming in, taking over and deciding it for them.
I'm going to ask you to speak one at a time.
Brian better speak first.
Why?
To get it over with.
Helen, the whole point is that you listen to each other. Really listen. So, 5 minutes each initially. Brian.
Well, first off, this hasn't just happened. It's been going on for, well, months.
Okay, my turn.
Please, Helen. What exactly has been going on for months?
This new catalogue, I mean, it's completely gone to a head.
How can you let him say this?
Helen, you'll get your turn. When you say it's gone to Helen's head, what do you mean exactly?
Well, she's treating everyone like, well, like dirt, really. I mean, why should everyone come running just because she's had one good idea? It's a power thing, if you ask me.
I'm not standing for this.
We'll sit down, then.
Alex is going to have to find a way that Helen can listen to what Brian's saying, which often means moving away from blame and focusing on specifics, specific facts, specific feelings, specific events.
So you're saying you think the catalogue's a good idea, and you think that Helen's treating you and maybe other colleagues with less respect than you'd like?
Yeah, that's about the size of it, yeah.
So you feel pretty strongly?
I'm bloody furious if you really want to know.
Okay. But can you give Helen some clear examples of what you mean? How does what she does affect you?
Well, it's caused a lot of problems for the whole department.
What specifically, though, Brian?
Well, the new order processing system, it's meant to keep up with the increase in orders. It just doesn't work.
You can't make it work, you mean?
Helen, you can respond when it's your turn. You say it doesn't work. Why do you think that is?
Well, what was wrong with the old way of doing things? It worked fine. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. And then she came along.
Okay, it sounds as if you're mostly unhappy with the new system because you feel the old system worked fine.
That's what I just said.
But do you think your feelings are having any effect on your ability to cooperate with sales? To take on board the new system?
Let's just say we're not feeling too well disposed.
But do you think the old system really could have coped? I mean, there's been an enormous increase in business.
It might have coped if she hadn't promised next day delivery.
It was agreed.
Please, Helen. It sounds like that's the big problem.
Well, she never asked our opinion at all. And we just lost 2 dispatch packers. You can't do that to people.
So you feel resentful that she didn't consult you more fully?
Too right. And the fact that we're having to pick up all the incorrect orders isn't exactly helping.
Time Helen had her say.
Basically, Brian's a weak manager.
I'm sure you have a good reason for saying that, but what is it that Brian does that you're unhappy about?
I've tried talking to him about the next day delivery scheme, but he just refuses to listen. He could make it work if he tried. You only have to look at him with his team. He can't tell them something straight. Everything's, could you be so kind and would you do us a favour?
How does that affect you?
I can't remember the last time one of our orders arrived on time. It's insane. The phone lines are jammed with customers asking one question. Where's our order? Because he can't get his people to pack the orders quickly enough.
You seem to be saying two things there. That you're unhappy about Brian's dispatch record, and that you don't agree with his style of management. Is that right?
Yes, so?
I just wanted to establish that there are two issues. Brian's style of management and his performance record. Because you and Brian are entitled to use whatever personal style of management you choose within your own department, as long as they accept it, okay? But we're here to look at performance, which is the other issue you've raised. I mean, it's the speed of dispatching the orders that's the real issue, isn't it?
Yes.
Alex has managed to separate out Helen's feelings about Brian's performance from her feelings about his personality, and this can help Brian to listen to what she's saying. And they both had their initial opportunity to be heard. Now it's time to get down to the real work, where both parties get to think beyond their own fixed positions. The start of the search for common ground and common values. After all, there must be some.
So, if I understand you both correctly, you, Brian, are concerned that your department isn't expected to meet impossible deadlines at the expense of sales growth.
Well, I've already lost 3 people this year. I can't work miracles.
Helen, you obviously want the catalogue to be a success in terms of increased sales.
For the company's sake.
Oh, give us a break.
Well, that's the point, though, isn't it? I mean, success can't just be measured in terms of sales, as the customer complaints tell us. It seems to me this is a question of customer expectations.
How's that?
They want to know when they're going to get their goods.
Yeah, and they want the goods they've asked for.
Point taken. Otherwise, they'll think twice about coming back to us. Isn't that right?
Of course.
Of course.
And they want to receive them at or preferably before that time.
Yes.
Yes.
So, what does that mean?
Oh, things have got to speed up.
Or we tell the customers it's going to take longer than next day delivery.
But either way, you both want satisfied customers.
Sure.
Yes.
Once they've got a level of agreement on the problem, then that's the time to start generating options, ideas, choices.
So I, well, insist that no more decisions are made without proper consultation.
Why don't you suggest that to Helen directly?
What now?
Yeah.
Well, I insist that you don't take any decisions which affect my department without consulting me first.
If you agree to speed up.
Now, I'd like you both to look at that separately. This is a question of communication. Helen, can you agree to Brian's proposal?
Okay. Brian, I agree.
Well, in a conflict situation, people often don't recognise what's common between them. They only recognise what's different. What a mediator can do to help that is to first of all get them to really think about all the issues, get all the issues on the table. They actually do then notice they often have common issues. For example, a concern for customers. Secondly, once they start thinking about what to do about the issues, and you talk really clearly about that, they actually start to realise they're not that far apart.
So, what options do we have?
More packers would speed things up, there's no doubt about that.
I'm not ruling that out, but I'd like to look at ways of making the process more efficient first.
Well, we know the orders have to be more accurate. I can't tell you how time-consuming and depressing it is collecting things that have taken hours to pack in the first place.
We're looking into it. Mina thinks she's found the problem. With the codes.
Well, I could have told you that.
Why didn't you?
We weren't talking, remember?
Oh,
All right. How else could you speed things up?
Well, at the moment, we get a bunch of orders processed every couple of hours. Sometimes the gaps are longer.
Surely not.
But why don't the orders come through as soon as they're completed? I thought that was the whole idea.
And so did I.
I've heard that the telesellers are having to check all the codes before they process the orders.
Well, that's worth looking into. Is there anything else we've forgotten?
There was talk at one time of offering an express service for urgent orders, and then the rest would take a little longer, say 2 working days. That might smooth out some of the humps and bumps.
I suppose we could look at some form of discount for slower delivery. What do you think? Can the margins stand it?
We could talk to finance about it.
Well, as long as the customers are happy.
Sometimes when you get towards the end of a dispute, the relief that there might be an answer ahead is very big. What you've got to do is pause, check with both parties that they agree what's been said, they agree what they're going to do, and that's all very clear. That way you're going to get a realistic, workable solution.
So, if you both come back to me with your proposals in, what shall we say, is the day after tomorrow okay? Then we can refine some clear ways forward. And you both agree that if there's a problem between you both, that you'll bring it to me first. Okay?
They haven't sorted everything out by any means, and they both know it, but they've made a good start. They know more about each other than they did before, and everyone has a better grasp of the situation, a bigger commitment to making it work too. Preparation is vital, making a specific time and place in a neutral, safe environment. Ground rules are the glue that keeps it all together. Both sides need to listen to each other as fully as possible. Only then can they start to become aware of common goals, common values that can lead to seeing the common problem. Where and when possible, you want the parties to do the work themselves. Options lead naturally from this, but need to be clearly focused into measurable actions which can be followed up and reviewed before taking each new step. Organisations contain conflict. There's really no escape from it. But the ability of an organisation to handle conflict constructively can mark out those who win from those who lose. Now, some of the conflicts we've seen have been the result of what appear to be personality clashes with Brian and Helen, and temporary breakdowns in communication with AJ and Mina. But there have been other factors which have made the emergence of negative conflict almost inevitable. Helen's push to get the new catalogue out put extra pressure on Brian at exactly the time when he was the victim of a shrinking department. And her decision not to fully consult him about the new next-day delivery service was a major cause of the ensuing problems.
And they expect them done by 5.
If our worn-out
Brian's team of Gary and Angie now felt the problem had been dumped on them.
Like it or not.
Poor communications, verging on animosity between the departments, also meant that the problem with incorrect orders wasn't recognised as quickly as it needed to be, and senior management wasn't sufficiently in touch to improve the situation.
How are you getting on?
I'm sorry for any inconvenience.
Unhappy customers after the new launch have left indelible memories, and endless complaints can demoralise the team,
Is it me or is it them?
leading to a lack of commitment and motivation. But these are only the results of unmanaged, undiagnosed conflict.
Conflict has an extremely important role to play in organisations. It is a very powerful diagnostic tool that, if used properly, can highlight where the problems are in the organisation very early on, which means that the appropriate action can be taken early on and any damage can be limited.
Without any apparent conflict, it may seem that you have no problems, no difficulties. But you also get no ideas, no energy, and no adaptability to change. A manageable and acceptable level of conflict is an energy source which can power your organisation forward, if you learn how to use it.
The positive aspect of conflict for organizations is the tremendous energy it can release, especially turning the negative energy into something positive often leads to huge amounts of creativity. And looking at things from different points of view often leads to new solutions that nobody has thought about.
I'm very sorry about that.
Nobody could doubt Helen's dedication to her job or her commitment to sales performance.
Next day.
Any orders received
Or
after
Brian's
3 p.m.
concern for
will be
his
dealt with
staff.
the following day, and that is my final word.
Alex knew the benefits to the organisation in holding on to them both and getting them to work more effectively together. The costs of a key person going absent at a key time could have been too much for the organisation to bear.
Well, for an organisation, conflict ultimately can mean the bottom line is affected. Top quality staff leave because they're demotivated, they're stressed out by constantly having to fight their way through conflicts. Other staff will leave because there's no energy. They feel like they've got to avoid saying what they need. And that too can be fatal for the organisation. You lose your best staff.
The most valuable first step an organisation can take towards managing conflict is to find out how and where it's happening. A conflict audit, if you like. There are several major areas to look at. First of all, decision-making. This company made 2 recent decisions which had a major effect on increasing levels of conflict. Helen's decision to provide a next-day delivery service and the company's recent downsizing.
Perfect takes longer.
We ain't got longer.
How are decisions made? Are they made by individuals or by teams? Is there a process of consultation beforehand? Do staff feel empowered by decisions, or do they feel excluded, like Brian and his team?
In an organization with an autocratic decision-making style, the potential for conflict is huge. On the other hand, if you want to build more commitment, then a more consultative style where staff are listened to, where staff feel involved, where staff feel they can air their views, is likely to reduce conflict.
I'm Paul Branston, the new technical manager.
When teams change, people leave, people arrive, what efforts are made to reform and rebuild these teams? Or is it just left for everyone to get on with it?
No.
And what about Dr. AJ?
Once Mina and AJ stopped taking positions and were able to identify common goals, then they were able to progress towards a solution.
Broken customer relationships.
The same was true for Helen and Brian.
Yes.
And it's also true at an organizational level.
The assumption in organizations is that everybody knows what the goals are. People often don't. If the organizations can take the time to be clear about what the goals are and actually help build the common understanding, it will reduce the potential for conflict in a big way.
Decisions and goals are both important to consider for the internal structure of an organization, but then, as always, it's also essential to move on to the wider view. When conditions in the market change, the organization's response needs to be carefully thought through if it's not to generate new kinds of conflict. Poorly designed or ill-conceived procedures can cause a lot of grief all round. Angry customers firing off complaints inevitably mean that someone's going to take the rap. And when the blame starts flying around, it's unlikely that people are giving the job their full commitment. Organizations need to take steps if conflict isn't to get out of control. People need to know how to react positively. They need skills, self-awareness skills, the ability to solve and negotiate difficult problems, the ability to defuse tense situations, mediation and facilitation skills to help others resolve their difficulties. The costs of unresolved conflict can be enormous, as we've seen. Working with conflict isn't always going to be easy. No one ever said it was going to be. It takes courage and commitment. But the rewards for individuals and organizations have a value beyond words. To summarize, then, the organization needs to assess the costs of current or possible conflict. Where are the hot spots, the potential flashpoints? What's causing them in the short term, and taking a more structural view? Most importantly, put in place a strategy, an approach that can help the whole organization start to address this key issue.